and I also have a work experience in Infosys for a couple of years. And about this journey in IoT domain, I started working in IoT right from the year 2015. Just like how you're attending FDP on IoT at this point, I did an FDP in IoT in CDAC Bangalore. I got very impressed with the topics delivered there, and I really wanted to come back, teach my students, and also work in the field. So what I did was I started a club along with the students in my department, and motivated them to do some hobby projects. The college also sponsored us with the kids hardware components for the same. Then slowly we tried to take those projects to various national and international level events, and we had successful winnings right from 2017, as ma'am said, in Smart India Hackathon and other national and international level hackathons. So that is how my journey started, and because I loved that field, I started doing my PhD also in this particular domain. So right now we have a lab established in the same domain. We have a lab in our department, fully enriched with all hardware and software required to build IoT projects. So this is a brief introduction about me and what I'm doing in here in TCU. So let's quickly move on to the topic. So IoT, for the past few days, this term must be ringing in your ears for a lot of times, and I hope by this time you would have memorized what it means. Yes, IoT, Internet of Things. So when I say a thing, it can be anything. May it be a pen, a paper, a book, an object, whatever it might be. That is why they have specifically termed it as thing. So if this thing can have a unique ID to represent itself in the network and provide some useful feedback to us about its status, with which we can make some useful decision, then the whole setup is called as IoT. So I have been checking out some of the previous sessions which you have been going through for the past few days. So by that, I came to understand that you had a very good introduction about what is what in IoT, and also how IoT is mastering various sectors in the market. So with that basic introduction, let me talk about how IoT projects can be programmed. So, so let's talk about some facts. Have you ever tried building an IoT project? I believe that 90% of you might have tried working on IoT projects. Now, if you talk to our students in the department, we ask them a question: are you ready to do a project? In what domain you want to do? They immediately say, I want to do an IoT project. That is because they love to work with that kit and all those LEDs blinking, or they are able to retrieve some data from the components. They feel very happy about it. But one point they forget is that without a cloud deployment, that is just an automation project. It is not actually an IoT project. So if your project has to be an IoT project, it must have this cloud deployment as well. So that point has to be stressed. So, and after this cloud deployment, we should be able to access the data from your devices from anywhere from the internet for the further processing. Right. Again, let's speak some more facts. Some of us are from IT background, and some of us are from ECE or EEE. So ECE and EEE people are very good with the hardware working, while IT and CSE are good at handling software very well. Exceptionally, some people are good with both the things, both hardware and software. But for people who have a dependency on either the software section or on the hardware section, is there a way out? That would be the question in many people's mind, because you want to complete a whole IoT project. You can't keep depending on a hardware expert to help you with the hardware, or you can't go to a software expert and ask him to help you with the software. You need to do both the ends so that you could get a whole idea about what you're doing in your project. So for this purpose, there are lots and lots of simulation tools that are currently available in the market. So let me introduce some of the popular tools in the market, and then we'll get to our demo. Right. The first tool is Tinkercad. Almost all the FDP sessions are filled with this tutorial about Tinkercad Autodesk, and it is a very popular tool. And the thing about it is that it helps you to build automation projects with the Arduino Uno and helps you to simulate and test the results. And whenever you make a connection here, the coding part is also being auto generated, which you can take it and put it in a real device and test it out. So this is totally a virtual thing. But in the recent past, due to some security concern, the cloud deployment module alone was removed from Tinkercad. So you cannot basically build an IoT project with the help of Tinkercad. Rather, you can go for basic automation projects that you can help. You can, as if you are a beginner, then you can proceed with working on such kind of simulation tools, right? So the next tool is being fritzing. So this fritzing is yet another simulation tool, and it is actually a very popular PCB board builder. With this, you can't see the results, okay, but still you can have a practice over connectivity. Like if you are very new to hardware, you are from the IT or CSE background, you can try connecting all the components using this fritzing tool, and it also generates a PCB board for you when you complete the project here in fritzing. So that's about fritzing, right? The next one is Proteus. Well, this is a very good tool, and it is a pro in simulation. You can simulate almost any kind of project in this. You can use like what your cloud deployment and your ultrasonic sensors and other things. Everything can be connected using Proteus. But there is one problem. It's a paid version, and the cost of the software is really very high. So unless you have the paid version, you don't have the freedom to access all cloud deployment part. You can do one thing. Maybe the college could get the whole software and allow the students to work on this particular simulation tool. In that case, instead of investing so much on the hardware, you can try using this software. It's very nice because almost all parts of the IoT projects are being covered in Proteus. And last one is Cane. I hope I'm spelling it correct. Uh, so I tried this one as well. This one has both a Raspberry Pi simulation and also Arduino simulation here. The one thing about this is that you have to connect the real microcontroller or microprocessor to this server. After which the other things like your sensors or actuators can be dragged and dropped. It takes care of almost all the uh, connectivity issues, cloud deployment part, all the other things are being taken care by this Cane tool. So the all the above mentioned tools you can use if you are a beginner for hardware or software in IoT. You can use them to gain some confidence in the project building for IoT. So that is all about the simulation tools that are existing. Now, most of you would have heard about this ThinkSpeak. It is the most easiest and the popular cloud deployment platform, and that is being used by many these days because of the ease of access. You can either connect your node MCU, which has inbuilt Wi-Fi capabilities, and you can get the data from your sensor and post it to the cloud using ThinkSpeak, or you can have an Arduino Uno and you can have an ESP module connected to it, and then you can post data to the cloud using ThinkSpeak. The problem, I wouldn't say that's a problem, but if you're planning for some bigger projects, then you have to consider buying the tool so that you can work out with the cloud deployment. And again, one more thing is that unless you have the hardware setup ready, you cannot use this ThinkSpeak. This is not a virtual environment. Only if you have the hardware setup ready, you can actually execute through the hardware and collect the information to your cloud. So that is one thing about ThinkSpeak. Now, apart from this, don't we have some solution which keeps both the hardware and the software virtually? So the answer would be yes. We have a lot of cloud services like AWS from Amazon, Microsoft Azure, IBM Watson Analytics, and Google Cloud Platform. A lot of web services are available for you in the market, which could help you to build your IoT applications. Well, this specifically, this AWS IoT Things Graph service, this helps you to develop IoT applications completely virtually and deploy them with complete ease. And as many of you have the doubt that it is paid, yes, it is paid, but you get a 12-month free subscription by which you can just trial run all your IoT projects using this subscription. So, um, and as you all have heard in the continuous previous sessions, when you build an IoT project, you're supposed to take care of certain aspects. One thing main is the communication protocol. You must have heard about the MQTT protocol or COAP protocol, the HTTPS, and other protocols which are related to the IoT projects. So when you are building an IoT project, it's not just the hardware part or just the hosting of your data to the cloud that you have to take care, but you must be concerned about the communication protocols, the connectivity aspects, and the main thing is the security aspect. All these things you have to be concerned about. But the problem is that we don't have any standards adapted, widely adapted standards right now for IoT. So it becomes a very difficult process for us, the developers, and we are forced to write lots and lots of code in order to integrate all these communication protocols, connectivity aspects, security aspect, our hardware, software, everything together. So this becomes a overhead for us, so we get frustrated over things. So at this time only these kind of services come into picture, and you can utilize them to the maximum extent, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Already, if there are some existing technologies that you can utilize for your research projects, you can utilize them, and then you can make enhancements wherever you need. So that is the point I'm trying to make out of all these things. So let me get into the demo part, which I'm trying to speak about here. So this is about IoT, AWS IoT Things Graph, right? So before I get into this topic wholly, I'm not picky about AWS. You can opt for any other similar services. As I told you, like Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure or IBM Watson Analytics or whatever it may be. So I'm not picky about AWS, but this demo could be a starter for the projects that you're trying to do. Maybe it could help you to at least try out the services that are already existing. Okay, so again, the point I'm trying to make is utilize the existing resources to the maximum extent, and whatever you have to do on your part, that alone you try to concentrate on, right? Why I picked this particular service is that it's totally a virtual experience platform. uh, it can also be extended to your real-time devices like your Raspberry Pi or Node NC or whatever you need. But if you want to completely have a virtual experience, then you can assuredly take this service and work on it. Right. So this AWS Things Graph, it provides you with a visual drag and drop option for interface for your devices and web services. So for example, let's conclude, let's think about an intruder detection system, wherein you want to monitor some place where intruders should not be coming. So what we can do as a real-time hardware project, you might need a motion sensor which could detect movement, and you can have a camera that gets triggered whenever there is a change in the motion sensor state, and this camera could click pictures and send it to you, or even when the motion sensor has detected a presence, it could send you some text messages. So when you're building this as a hardware project, you have to take care of all the hardware, the sensor, the microcontroller or the processor, the Wi-Fi connectivity, the security aspects, and finally the storage part, Suppose you're having a camera that is clicking a picture and you have to post that to that person through cloud. You have to be concerned about the storage part. So all these things become a overhead for you. But as far as these kind of cloud services are concerned, they take care of all the underlying part, and they just let you to design your application with lots of ease. So when I get into the demo, you will be able to understand in a better way, right? So this thing which we create by dragging and dropping all the devices and web services is called as a workflow in AWS IoT Things Graph. So this things graph helps you to coordinate any necessary protocol translation. So you need not be mindful about all the underlying factors. You just can concentrate on the application building part alone, right? And in no time, you can deploy your IoT application either on the cloud, totally virtual, or you can also introduce your real-time devices and publish the same to your publish or deploy the same to your real-time device. So that is a brief introduction about the AWS Things Graph overall introduction. Now let's get into the demo part. We are to be concerned about three major steps while creating an IoT application using AWS IoT Things Graph. So maybe I'm not sure if you'll be able to follow and do it, but once the session is over, you will be getting the video of this. I have also mentioned all these steps in the PPT. You can take those things and you can try to work it out. So before you get into this, you should be requiring an AWS login for working with the AWS IoT Things Graph. So that should be your first step. When you're creating the login, do not panic if it's asking you for your debit card details. Do give the debit card details. It will not give you, it will not debit any amount from you until 12 months, because for 12 months you have free subscription in AWS. So do not be worried to test this service. And even if you are crossing this 12 months, the level of usage that we have might not exceed the level that AWS is suggesting for us. For example, we have some cloud platforms like Firebase. If you go and check out the billing information for that, only for specific number of calls they would be giving free. That would be ample for us to create the whole application, a mobile application. The same way as this AWS. For us, this might be ample for us. You need not be worrying about the billing part. Okay, so once you complete, because if you want to be very sure that billing doesn't occur, you can delete the flow once you've tried it, or you can even undeploy the flow that you've created, so that you can ensure safety that billing isn't happening. Okay, so let me get into the demo. So the first step would be to create the flow, that is arranging all your devices in order and such that they are integrating interacting with each other. And the second one, you have to configure the flow, meaning how this flow is going to get executed, whether you're going to put it in the cloud or whether you're going to put it in your a real device, or what are the other factors that you have to consider. All these things you have to define in the configuration of flow. And the last part being, you have to deploy the flow. That is, you create the execution. So again, this can happen virtually, totally virtual, or you can use real-time devices, right? So with the no delay, let me go into the demo part. So this is my AWS management console. So I have already created an account for me. So all these are services in the AWS. You have lots and lots of services, and you can utilize any of them. Uh, so and make the maximum out of it. So which part we are going to use is the IoT section. I'm not even using all of it. I'm just using the IoT Things Graph because I wanted to show you that virtually an IoT application can be created. So clicking on this IoT Things Graph, you get into that panel. So this is the IoT, AWS IoT Things Graph. So as you see here, you have the three steps that we can do. And one more thing is that inside this flow, you have various models. Let me get into it and then show you so that you could understand in a better way. So I have clicked create flow and entered into the flow first step. So give a name for your flow. Today I'm going to simulate intruder detection for you. So I'm naming it as intruder detection. Description is optional. If you want, you can give the description as well. And once you've given a name of the flow, just create the flow. Right. So So if you can see here, this is the whole interface. In the side, you can find a lot of devices. These are called as models. Okay, these are pre-written by AWS services. What they've done is that if you're picking out Raspberry Pi screen, this model will behave exactly like your Raspberry Pi screen. So that is the point I'm trying to make. So this is called as a model. This has certain properties being defined for it. It has some actions and it has a state. So when there is a change in the state, you please do this action. When there is a change in a particular state, you please do that action. So that is what is the devices. And you also have some services which are being given as models. These are some of the services available in AWS: image recognition, Lambda functions, word count. All these are services. Those are also given as models for you. Model in the sense something that behaves exactly like your existing device. For example, my motion sensor. If I'm taking a hardware motion sensor, this model here as a motion sensor would behave just like my motion sensor, real-time motion sensor. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. And you have some logical operations as well. So today, as I told you, I'm going to simulate intruder detection for you. So for that, we will be requiring some three major devices. One is my motion sensor, the second one will be my camera, and the third one will be my screen. Okay, so let's start designing. Okay, so it's as easy as dragging this camera and putting it there, but my first model has to be my motion sensor. So this is my motion sensor. So when you click on this, I have dragged it and dropped it here. When you click on this, on the side you have some details that you have to fill here. So the name is already being given by it. Now you have to select an action. So whenever there is a state change in the motion sensor, what should the motion sensor do? So there are some predefined actions. So the action would be to trigger the flow. Trigger the flow in the sense, what are the things interacting with the motion sensor at the later part, that has to be triggered whenever there is a state change in my motion sensor. So as you see, I have my state changed. So whenever state change occurs, the motion sensor has to go through the flow. So this part I've completed. Now once I have my motion sensor, the second thing I have to deal about is the camera. Okay, so again I have a model called as camera here. Okay, so I'm going to interconnect both these things such that interaction happens. So whenever there is a state change, it goes to the camera and asks the camera to do some work. Now let us ask the camera to do some work. So this is the camera. You have a device name and you have to define what this camera has to do. Okay, so this camera has to actually, one second, capture an image, and it has to produce an output. Okay, so I have one second. So the output would be camera result. So here I'm pasting it as camera result. Okay, so again I'm telling you, this is my motion sensor. Okay, whenever there is a state change in the motion sensor, it triggers the camera to capture an image. So the image will give an output which is called as the camera result. Now once this camera has picked up an image, we have to either publish a text message to the concerned person, or we can even get the photo and give it to the concerned person. So my choice would be to get a photo itself. So I'm going for a screen. Okay. So again, I'm connecting this camera uh, with my screen. So for the screen as well, I'm supposed to select an action. So I'm going to configure the action. So once my screen is triggered, it has to display something. So for this, I need an input from the camera module. So I'm defining the input. Since all these things are happening virtually, the image, you don't get the exact image, rather you get the URL for the image. So that is what you have to define in the input part. So that would be, I'll explain what this is. Dollar under curly braces, you're supposed to get the camera result from the previous model and the last clicked image of the camera model, right? So this is very simple only, okay? Camera result from the previous model, okay? And the last clicked image will be displayed in the screen, right? So we have created three models and we have provided interaction between them. So the flow goes in such a way that whenever there is a state change in your motion sensor, the whole flow starts executing. So your camera is triggered to capture image and this image is being displayed on your screen. So that's all we are going to do today. So this is a very simple basic example that I'm trying to tell you here. So you have a publish button here on the side. Whenever you have completed the flow, you just click on the publish button. Okay, so your flow was successfully created. So this is the first step that we have done, right? Once you have created the flow, you should move on to the second step. The second step is a little bit, I wouldn't say tough, but you have to concentrate on it. So the second step would be to create a flow configuration. So let me tell you again, I moved on to the deploy part here. I clicked on the deploy button and then inside of the deploy button I have the flow configuration create button. You have to click on the create flow configuration button. I already have tried out some flow configuration, so that is what is existing here. So inside the flow configuration, which flow are you going to configure? The flow that I created right now, I named it as intruder detection. So I'm picking it out and I'm telling the AWS service that I'm going to configure this particular flow, right? You can give a name for your intruder detection flow configuration. Okay, so you can give, sorry, configuration. And these tags are optional. These tags are for you to use for later references. I'm not giving any of it now. No, right now, this is again an important step here. You have to choose between these two. One thing is the cloud. Your flow totally gets executed in the cloud, or your flow can get executed in a real-time device. If you are supposed to execute the flow on a real-time device, you have to connect all the real devices to yet another service called the Greengrass service in AWS IoT. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to deploy my whole flow in the cloud of AWS. Okay. So once I've done this whole part, I'm moving on to the next step. I hope you have understood this one. So I'm moving on to the next step. Now again, I have to configure my cloud metrics. So in this part, you have to create a role for yourself. Okay. So how you can create that role is that in AWS, you have something called as access management service. Okay. So try to open it. So when you open this access management tab, right, you have something called as roles on the side. I hope you are able to see this. In access management tab, you have something called as roles. Now, basically, why we have these roles is that in order to manage what all services you are trying to access, you don't need to access all the services of all the services of AWS. Rather, you are concerned only about the IoT part. So in order to define a specific role for that, we are creating a new role. So how you can create that is that you can go to this create role button. I clicked on the create role button, and inside this, it lists all the services that are available in AWS. I'm concerned only about my IoT Things Graph service. So I'm clicking on IoT Things Graph service. Okay. So I have come to create role section. Inside create role section, I want a role which deals with IoT Things Graph service. So I have clicked on that, and I'm giving next permission. And this is one more thing. Whether you want partial access or you want full access, or you're specific about even the policies that you're going to use. So those has to be mentioned in this section. I want all the access for IoT. So I'm specifying IoT full access. Okay. So AWS IoT full access. So until this, there is no issue. You can definitely give. So don't be worried about that. So initially we are creating a role that says that I'm interested about this service called as IoT Things Graph service. And inside that, I'm creating a policy that is also regarding my IoT full access in AWS. Okay. And I'm setting no boundaries. So next one is the tags. Again, this is optional. You don't need to give any tags. If it is really needed, you can give. Right. And finally, I'm going to review this role and give a name for this role. I'll give ID role and then create it. Okay. Right. So create role. So once I have done that, I have all the roles that is being created by me, and I am concerned about this ID role, and I'm going to copy this ID role here. I have copied the role ID, and I'm going to go back to my things graph. Okay. So I'm coming back to this configuration part and pasting my role ID. Okay. So what I've done is that I've created an IAM role, access management role. Okay. I have given the concern for using IoT Things Graph service. Then what I've done is that I have taken the policy for AWS IoT full access, and then came back to my configuration part and pasted it here. Okay. So this metrics part here, if you want to try analyzing the data, what is happening in your flow and all those things, you can give enable metrics option, which can be later on used to analyze all the flow executions. Other than that, this is not much use to you. So you can give disable metrics and then go on to the next step. So we have completed the next step in configuration. Now, this is one more important part. Okay. This is one more important part wherein we have created 3 devices in our flow. One is the camera, the other one is the screen, and the other one is the motion sensor. Okay. So what we have to do is that we have to create some things in the AWS services so that we can associate them with the flow. Okay. So how we are going to do that is you can go to the IoT core service. Okay. Here we have the IoT core service. I'm opening it in a new tab. Okay. So this is the AWS IoT main page. Here you have all the access for your AWS IoT services. So right now I'm supposed to create a thing that can be associated with the flow that I have created. Okay. Right. So to create this thing, you have to go into the manage things tab. Inside that you have a create button. Click on that create button. Okay. Again, let me tell you, manage inside that things, and inside that you had a create button. I have clicked on the create button to get the screen. So here you have a create single thing option, right? Again, I'm telling you, you have to associate all the models that you created in your flow to a thing. Okay. So For that purpose, I'm going to create a thing here. So the first one would be the camera or the motion sensor. Okay, so motion sensor, I'm creating that thing first. I'm not going to create any type or group for this, because if I'm doing a large project, I wish to connect certain devices into particular group and the other devices into another group. I'm not going to do that now, because it's a very simple project. I'm not going to do that now. So I'm skipping these two parts and then going to the next part. Now, this is an important step. This is totally concerned about your connectivity to the AWS services, the security aspect, and all the other things concerned. Okay. So what happens is that when you give create certificate here, it creates you a public key, a private key, a certificate, and an Amazon service certificate. These certificates are the ones that help you to connect to the AWS services. So you are not supposed to share this with anybody. Okay, you can create it, and when you create it, you will have all these certificates displayed here. So download everything, because once you cross this page, you won't be able to see all these certificates. Okay, there is a certificate for the thing, a public key and a private key. Along with that, you have a root CA for AWS IoT that also you can download. Okay, so that is for server authentication for your AWS services. So you can right click on the root CA and save it as a PEM file. Okay, all these are PEM files. Some cases you would get this PEM file by itself. In other cases, you can choose all files and you can give a dot here and save it as a PEM file. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I already got created all my things. So once you've completed this step, wherein you have got all the certificates and all your root CA files, all those things downloaded. Again, I'm insisting, download all these files, keep it in a separate folder for each of your things. In our case, we had three different devices in the flow. So we are supposed to create three different things, and we are supposed to download all these certificates and keep it in a separate folder. Okay. So after you've done that, you give activate button here. Okay, this will get activated, and the next step would be to attach a policy. Right now, for this policy section, I have already got a lot of policies here, but for people who are new, how you create this policy is that in the same page you have a section called as security section. Inside that you have something called as policies. So again, security section, inside that you have policies. Right click on the policies, open it in a new tab. Okay, and if you see, you have a create button here as well. You can click on that create button for the policy, give a name for your policy. Now this policy is again concerned about what are all you're using for the thing, what are all the services that this thing is going to access, that is going to be given here. Okay, your thing gets authorization for accessing one or more resources from AWS services. Okay, so let me name this as intruder flow policy. Okay, inside this it has got actions, which means which are all the actions that you want to do, whether you're going to do publish, subscribe for MQTT or whatever. Okay, so for me, I'm going to give a star, which means that I'm going to take all the IoT services. Also for the resources, I'm giving a star. Okay, which means I don't want to miss anything. I'm picking out all the policies. Okay. And finally give allow, right, and click on the create button. So when you do that, this intruder flow policy being created, you can utilize the same for your things, right? It won't come right now here. Okay, because I haven't refreshed that page, so it won't be coming there. So I'll pick out one of the policies that is already existing and then register my thing. Okay, So what step I have followed is that I have created a thing. Okay, where is that? Motion sensor one. So this thing is being created now. I have created certificates for my things. I have downloaded all the certificates. I have placed them in a folder. Okay, for further access. And then I have created a policy which is present in my secure tab. So I have to click on this policy and create a policy. I'm going to access almost every service, every resources for my thing. So I've given staff for both the cases given there, and then I have clicked create policy and attach that policy to my motion sensor thing. Okay, so this thing now is being created, and this can be associated to my flow. Okay, so this is a sample of how you are going to create a thing that can be associated to the device in your flow. So since we have done this part, okay, I'm going here. That was just a sample of how you should create a device. Now what you have to do is that you have to create a thing for each of these devices. Okay, I created for motion sensor. The same way you should create for screen, you should create for camera, and then you should associate that thing here. Okay, since I have already created all these things to save time, I'm just using all the existing things that I've created. Okay, so I have mapped my things, and then I have to go to my next page. So all the devices that you have created in the flow has to be associated with the thing that you have created in the AWS services. So that is about this step. Right. Moving on to the next step. This is a trigger. This is basically written in graph QL language, and you need not touch this part because all that you have given in the flow is automatically being coded here. But if you want to tweak some part of it, then you can go for it. Basically, it tells you what the flow is. So here it all starts with the motion sensor. So the motion sensor condition is state change. So whenever there is a state change, the flow starts executing, wherein your camera is triggered and it picks up a picture and posts it to your screen. So this is the whole trigger detail. So this one you need not touch any part of this, not an issue. But if you want to change any of it, like you want to trigger the camera in a different way, or you want to give time to it, or some other logic of choice to it, then you can come here and edit this code. Okay? Right. So can give review button. So finally, you have done all the process in the step 2. Okay. Right. So you can review everything and then create your flow. So with this, we are closing the second step, configure the flow. Now, coming to the third step. Once you've done all these things, you're supposed to deploy your configuration. So as I told you, we are going to do everything virtually. We are not going to use any real-time devices. So AWS has given us an opportunity to have mock devices. Those devices are codes written in Python. Okay, you can use those mock devices and execute the flow. Right, I'll show you how that is being done. So we have seen all these steps. So quickly I'll move through them. And now we are in the right. So this is the link that has your mock devices for camera, motion sensor, and your screen. Mock devices in the sense it is a Python code that behaves just like your real-time device. That is your motion sensor. Okay. We had the flow. That is a different aspect. This is a device. This is exactly an illustration of the device. Okay. So these mock devices has to be downloaded from the AWS link that I've provided here. So you can use it and download it. I'll show you how the code looks like. You can even design any models or any particular device using the same code. Okay, right. Now, once you've done that, these are the steps that you have to follow. You have to create a folder named as AWS and you have to create 3 separate folders, one for each of your device. Okay, one is the motion sensor, the second one is the camera, okay, and the third one being your screen. And the second step is to place all the downloaded certificates in the right folder. So we created a thing. For each thing you would be getting 4 different certificates. All those certificates has to be put inside the right directory. For example, for motion sensor, those certificates inside the motion sensor folder. For camera, the certificates for camera thing has to be put inside camera folder, and for the screen, the certificates corresponding to it. And one more thing you will have to do is that whatever we have downloaded from this particular link, you'll have 3 different Python files. You have to put those Python files on each folder, okay, correspondingly. I'll show you that as well. Okay, once you've done that, there is one more step. You have to download the AWS IoT device SDK. Okay, this helps you to execute uh, commands commands from your terminal itself. Okay, so for that purpose, you can download the AWS IoT device SDK. I have provided the link in the description box that you can take it. Okay, and then finally you're going to execute the commands to ensure that your mock devices are running. Instead of having real devices, we are having software based devices that behaves just like your real device. Okay, right. So before that, what you have to do is that you have to go to your things graph, okay, and pick out the flow that you created and click on the deploy button. This is the third step. Okay, do not forget, we created a flow, we configured. Now we are moving on to the deploy section. So whichever flow you have configured, click on it and then give deploy button. Okay. This is my deploy button. Right. So since my deployment is in the cloud, it's getting deployed in the cloud. So this is the deployment that is currently getting executed. Okay, but I won't have anything in my flow execution because I have not started my mock devices. Okay, so this won't have any flow execution until I start my mock devices and make them behave in the way I want. Okay, so for that part, let me go to my desktop. So I have created a folder called as AWS. One second. Do you see this folder? This is my AWS folder. So inside my AWS folder, I have already downloaded the AWS IoT device SDK. Then I have created 3 different folders. Okay, one for each of my devices, and I have ensured that inside each I have their certificates and their Python file for the mock device. Now, this mock device Python file looks just like this. Okay, inside this they have coded in such a way that it behaves just like your exact device. So whatever your camera performs, that will be performed by this cloud camera Python file. Okay, and the same way we have a motion sensor folder. Inside this I've got all the certificates and I've got the motion sensor Python file. Again, this is being coded in such a way that your flow gets executed. Okay, and finally I have my screen. Okay, and inside the screen also I have my certificates and my cloud screen Python file that I downloaded from the link I showed you that time. Okay, again this is being coded in such a way that it behaves just like your original device. Okay, so the thing is that these are all pre-given examples in your AWS IoT services. Now if you want to have mock devices on your own, you will have to find out some examples on the internet, or you can even take this code and edit it and you can work out. Okay, so that is one thing. And also for the models part, I showed you the camera model, the screen model, and the motion sensor model. All those models can also be created by you. Okay, if you are very specific about a project wherein you are creating something related to the smart grid, you can create a model on your own using graph QL language. The things you should be concerned about is what is the property of that particular model, what will be the states that it will be having. For example, if you are taking a electrical bulb, turning on is a state, turning off is a state. So you should be concerned about the state. And finally, the action that it will perform. For example, if you're having some other sensor like ultrasonic sensor that measures uh, length or distance, that you have to specify in your model. Okay, so you can very well create models on your own for your need. Okay, and also you can instead of having this mock devices, you can also connect your real-time devices to the AWS IoT cloud service and create the deployment entirely on your system. What is the difference is that mm, when you're doing the hardware part, you have to write codes for it, you have to maintain all the connectivity part, and you have to be very specific about all the interactions that is happening. But when you're connecting all these hardware devices to the AWS IoT services, all those things are taken care by them. You just have to concentrate on the application part alone. Okay. So both the ways are good. Both the ways you can choose, right? So once I've done this, the next step will be to start all my services. But before that, I have one more thing that I have to do. Okay. So let me go to my PowerShell service. Okay. This is my PowerShell. Before that, let me explain one more thing to you. I hope this notepad is visible for you. Okay, so this is my system. I have already configured my account to this system. Okay, if you want to configure your PowerShell to the AWS account, you have to give a command called as AWS configure command. Okay, so when you copy this and put it in your PowerShell, okay, it will ask you the following questions. One question is the access key ID. It will take some time. Okay, access key ID. You can find this access key ID in the AWS in section. Okay, this is my account settings. Inside my security credentials, you have this access key and access ID as well. Okay, so you can try to click on this security credential. And inside that you have the access key, and you can't share this access key or access ID with anybody else. So click on this access key. Inside that you can copy the access key ID. You can create an ID as well. Okay, you copy that. Rather copying, I would say you have to download it, because once you close the page, that won't be available because of security reasons. So after you copy and download this, you can go back to your PowerShell and paste it here. Okay, I have already configured, so I'm not giving this. And again, you have to paste your access key, your default region. In my case, I have one second. I have there are lots and lots of locations here. The one which is closest to me is Asia Pacific, so I have chosen that. So you can copy the region from your URL itself. So the region will be AP Northeast 2. So you have to copy that and paste it here. Okay. And this output format, you may not give anything. Okay. So this is how you configure. You have to give the access key ID. You have to give the access key. All those things will be present inside your account settings, security credentials. You can create an access key as well. Okay. Download it and then utilize it whenever you want to configure. Okay. And the next thing is about the region. I also told you can get out from the URL, right? Right. So once you've completed this step, the next step would be to execute all your Python commands. Now let me put this on the screen so that it is visible for you in a better way. Right. Right. As you can see, this is a Python command, and the command has my Python file, which is my mock device as the first one. And the second one is the custom endpoint. I'll tell you how you should find this custom endpoint. All the other things are the keys that you have retrieved from the thing. Okay. Do you remember when we created a thing? We downloaded few certificates, right? So those certificates has to be put in this command. So the first one would be the root CA file, the PEM file that we saved, and the second thing will be the certificate file. The third thing will be the private key file. Okay, so you have to mention all the names of the file here, and finally the name that you have given for the motion sensor in your things has to be mentioned here. Okay, so I've already edited uh, this and kept. So as you can see here, I have the commands already done. Okay, this is my custom endpoint, and this is my CA key. This is my certificate file path. All these are existing in the same path from where I'm executing. So I'm not given the path, but just the file name. And this is my private key. Finally, this is my thing name, motion sensor, camera, and screen. I hope you remember when we associated, I had these names picked. Okay. So one by one, we are going to execute these commands on the corresponding shell. Okay. So this is executed from my motion sensor um, PowerShell. So I'm going to paste the motion sensor Python command here. So as you can see, it has started publishing messages saying that motion is detected. So we are simulating that the motion sensor is being triggered and the motion is being detected. Okay, this is the message that it is keeping on publishing. Now, who has subscribed to this message? It is your camera module. So the camera will be waiting for this kind of message. It will be subscribed to this particular motion sensor. Okay. Once it receives the necessary message from the motion sensor, it starts get triggered and it performs its action. So let us go and make our camera work now. Okay. So the second thing is our camera. Again, you have to click your PowerShell, and the same way I have a command for this cloud camera as well. Okay, so this is also getting connected. Okay, now let it get connected while I go to my screen, and then I try to right click on it, get my PowerShell. Okay, so this has also started picking up the messages. So what it has done is that it has subscribed to the MS, it has got the values. Now this has started publishing uh, the images that are being clicked. That is the URL. Do you remember when we created the flow? This will have the last clicked image result as the input for the next screen. So that is being published. Okay. Right. And finally, this is our screen. So we have yet another command for our screen here. Okay. So copying that and putting it inside the screen command. Okay. Now this also has to get connected. Since I have given all my certificate keys and the commands correctly, this is working perfectly fine. Do not be overwhelmed by all these things that I'm telling you. If you're doing it for the first time, it will be a little bit tough, but still, if you've done this, the next part would be like a cup of cake, a piece of cake. Okay, so try to work out. And so now to see how this has come in the AWS cloud, we can go to the flow executions. Okay, so since I have created, all the messages have come here to my flow execution part, right? So we have successfully created an IoT application virtually, and we have deployed it in the cloud. So you can click on every execution and check which are the parts that have failed or which are the parts that have has run successfully. In our case, we have the mock device setup, so everything is coming as success. Okay, everything is working fine. In case I make some deliberate mistakes in any of the devices, that will get indicated here. So we also saw about some specific points saying disable metrics and enable metrics in configuration part. If you enable the metrics, you have something called as cloud watch in our AWS cloud services. One second. So that CloudWatch will help you to monitor your flow, and it also helps you to process the workflow data. Okay. So if you set any alarms or any actions around your flow performance, all those things can be watched using CloudWatch. But I have not done that part. Okay, that you can try on your own. So that is all about your deployment part. So we have successfully deployed the model. So if you want to ensure that this doesn't get billed or you are scared about the billing part, you can immediately go back and go here to your flow configuration and click on the undeployed key. Okay. So by this, your configuration will stop. So as and when you have to, as and when you need to um, execute your program, you can give this deployment, and whenever it's idle, you can give undeploy, and then you can do it. Okay. Right. And one more thing, I have Python SDK here in my system installed. That is why all these commands are getting executed. Okay. So you will also have to have Python in your system for this to get executed. So I'll also close all these things before I get to the next part. So I gave Control C and I have closed all my things. So basically this one worked on MQTT protocol, which is the publish and subscribe. All your previous sessions, many of the guests have spoken to you on this particular protocol. So that protocol is being implemented in our flow. Okay. We did not do anything uh, uh, to integrate that MQTT protocol in our IoT project. All those things, background things, were taken care by the AWS services. So it is as easy as that. Now let me get to the rest of the things. So we've seen all these things. Okay. Right. There are some more services in AWS. So this is for the device part. As I told you already, Greengrass helps you to connect real-time devices to your AWS cloud service. So again, just how you define the flow, instead of putting that in your mock devices, you can run it directly on your real-time devices. Okay. So that is also possible. Since this is a very short session, I'm closing with the virtual part alone. Okay. And you also have connectivity and control services, okay, wherein you have the IoT core, device defender, and device management. When you consider a big project, for example, you're hosting a real-time project which is very big, and you have lots and lots of sensors, devices connected, and you have a diverse location, you have to manage all these things, then you can go for such kind of connectivity and control services. And at last, the analytical services. Every IoT project has to have, it has become like you should be taking over the analytics part or the ML part, such that it gives you some brilliant decisions. Okay. So AWS again gives you the analytics service as well. So you can use any of it to analyze the results that you've got from the IoT applications. You can have beautiful dashboards. You have Elasticsearch, you have Kibana. Everything helps you to uh, analyze the data that you have and put it in a readable format for the user. Now, recent people like LG and many industries have come to these kind of popular services so that they can manage their devices in an IoT aspect. Okay, very recent is LG. LG have come to AWS cloud services to help them manage all their devices that are being connected to the cloud. Okay, so that is all about the AWS cloud services. So, so as I told you continuously, this is not the only thing that I'm asking you to try out. I'm asking you to try out Google Cloud Platform. You can also try Microsoft Azure or IBM Watson Analytics. Everything has its pros and cons. Okay, but whatever may be the case, it will be very useful for you because they have already done what is necessary for you. So you can pick it out and utilize whatever is needed for you, and then the rest of the thing alone you can concentrate. So that is all. So thank you so much. If only you start doing the demo, you will be able to have a lot of doubts. Okay. So this is my mail ID. In case you are trying out this and you have some questions related to this, you can ping me through my mail ID. Anything else if you want to ask, I'd be happy to help.
So participants can post their queries on chat box or unmute themselves to interact with our resource person.
Yes, madam. Good evening, madam.
Good evening, sir.
I'm from MS Cybersecurity.
Hello, sir.
Hello, madam. I'm from MS Cybersecurity, madam. MS
Okay, sir.
University.
Okay, sir.
Madam, the security policies you are saying, you have said something, madam.
Okay, sir.
Actually, I was trying side by side what they were saying in my system also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. In between some network issues, so it was disconnected. I was unable to see in the middle. Okay, but the security policies which are being used, can we see in the AWS system, madam?
Yes, sir. You can see in the AWS system. 1 second. Let me get back to that portal of this one. You want to know what are all the security
Policies.
security policies?
Yes, madam. And how they are using it.
Okay.
We want to implement in our university, madam. They have given a task of IoT.
Okay.
So a policy framework and application. I think AWS, you have said, I think I can refer this one also.
Yes, sir, you definitely can refer. But one thing I want you to consider is that, so these are all the policies that I was talking about. Whatever service that you require, you read it out. You have specific billing conditions for each of them. So you read all those policies and then try to accommodate it for whatever you want. For example, if you want analytics part, choose only that policy. I have given all the policies because I'm in a demo version. I'm trying to simulate only for a couple of days. Okay. So if you're planning to do this as a real time thing, you have to consider checking all the billing information. Like for each message that is being dropped or each service that is being provided, they have some separate billing options. Okay. You have to read through that and then only you have to choose.
Is there any convention based things in this IoT, that is international convention, to be governing by both the provider and by the user?
I'm not very sure about that. Okay. And maybe I can get back to you after seeing this, seeing what it means.
Because they are saying the persons who are using it are misusing it in many areas. So they are asking for an international convention to get the user and the provider to get a contract. Is it available directly in this one, or we should do it separately?
So everything regarding security and everything regarding usage of the AWS services is being provided there in the console itself. Okay, all you have to do is that read through it before you use any of it.
Okay, madam. Okay. I have to go review of it.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear my voice, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have to go a review of each policy specifically, and then only I have to click for it.
Yes, sir. That should be a very specific thing you have to do because each and every policy has a billing on its own. So you have to check it and then only you have to proceed. If you're planning to do it in a real time scenario.
For a whole university, we are planning to do it. So only I'm asking this one because virtually we try it once. How many devices are connected? What are the services they are offering? This is the only thing I think so in the whole part, right, madam?
Yes, sir.
So
Sir,
based on how many devices? Yeah,
sir,
tell me,
can you come back?
based on how many devices we are connecting and how what are the services offered. That based on that only the billing will be.
Based, sir,
Can
sir,
you
you
hear me?
have to check it. Hear your once.
Madam, that is based on the number of devices only. Their billing side will be there. Am I right, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, all these information are given in the AWS console itself, sir. See, because you're planning for your whole university, you have to check out all the information in the policy section of AWS services. For example, many industries have tied up. For example, Honeywell or other industries that we know have tied up with the AWS services. For them, even the storage and the bucket services and other lambda functions, all they will be utilizing. So for each project, they specifically pick out certain services, certain policies, and for those alone, they will be getting the bills. The same way, whatever you need for your college, specific to that, you can provide information. It will be asking you for all those information in the console itself. You can pick out, just like how you pick out from online shopping, you can pick out all those things, and you can ensure that only these services you're going to use, these many devices or the things that you're going to connect, and then you can progress. So
Okay, madam. If we need any clarification, can we ask your service, madam?
sure, sir, sure.
Because the real-time one, we are specific with the information security policy. So that's what I am asking this much.
Sir, sure, sir. You can contact me off this meeting. You can contact me, sir. I'll just give my number to Geeta ma'am. You can get it and you can talk to me, sir. I also have some people who are connected to this, who are closely working in this particular area. I can even get you those contacts so that you can get even more details about this.
That policy you have a link, madam. Can we see it? Is there any link we can download it?
Download what, sir?
That AWS policy.
So, all the policies you have to create on your own inside the council or after you have created an account.
Then, okay, and then we can see it.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
yes. Without an account, you can't be able to create a policy. Because I had an account already, I was able to create all the certificates and I was able to download and create all the policies. Okay.
Okay. That I can understand, madam. And the billing
Okay,
is,
okay.
if you use more than that, the billing will come.
If you're having these many messages, this is the amount that will be given. Okay. For example, 2 lakh 250,000 minutes of connection means it comes under free tier of AWS IoT code. You have 500,000 messages being posted, then that also comes under the free tier. If it exceeds 500,000 messages, then you will have to go for the paid option. So the same way you have for every service, they have a section called as pricing section. You can go in and you can find out what are all the pricing options there. Okay, so it will connect 24/7 for the free tier itself, and it's inside the service section called as pricing. There you can go and see.
Okay, madam. Okay, I got it, madam.
Okay,
and,
okay, sir.
And regarding this, what I can say, the policies which are downloaded, can we print it, or is it only viewable?
Sir, it's downloadable, sir. You can download it and keep it in your system.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So any other queries?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Hello.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Ma'am, actually, I'm from EC department. My research area is WSN.
Okay.
Can I simulate the network by
ma'am.
software?
Network,
WSN
I don't
IoT.
think you can simulate. Wireless sensor net, ma'am. Actually, IoT itself is a category of wireless sensor network only. So basically, you can't simulate. It won't be like a NS2 project, ma'am. Like what you do with NS2 or that way you can't simulate, ma'am. Just like this flow graph, you can define lambda functions and you can make it look like a network and then try it out, ma'am. So you have something called as lambda function in this AWS services. Those functions are code that you can write to simulate whatever operation you want to do. For example, I showed you a functionality called image recognition. That is a service provided by AWS cloud service. So what it does is that whenever it sees your picture, even in Google all you would have seen, right? Whenever you want to open your mobile phone using your face detection, that is a service actually. So they have defined a lambda function such that service is being provided as a model. The same way, your WSN network part can be defined as a lambda function, and then you can utilize it, ma'am. Other than that, I don't think there are options like NS2 and all. I don't think there are options. But if there are any options, I'll definitely put link to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? So downloading the software and all the things, I have provided links in my PPT. You can use them. Other than that, there is a Pakka documentation section in Amazon. You can go through the documentation section and you can have all the access to all the materials that I've told you today. So all of them, each and everything, the mock devices, the software related to AWS IoT, or even the software that should be basic. For example, like you need Python, you can also have links for that in the AWS documentation section. I'll definitely put the reference link for you in my PPT. And other questions? I don't think
there is no other
any other
questions in
questions,
the
right?
chat box, ma'am.
Okay,
Do you want to provide any concluding remarks, ma'am?
No, ma'am. That's also. I wish all of them success in their research projects.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, ma'am. Actually, it gives a clear insight of how we can implement in a practical way about IoT. And thank you for the session, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Fine. I request all the participants to be online for the next few minutes for some of the instructions. And most of you have attended the assessment up to day 3 and you have given your feedback through your Moodle class. It's fine. So for attendance, some of you have raised queries how this attendance will be recorded. So it will be automatically recorded from the software itself. And I just want to mention one thing. Within today, we'll be posting a file for the attendance of 3 days from Monday to Wednesday. And we are collecting the attendance from the mail ID you are logging in. So those who are not using the mail ID, which you have provided for AECTE ATL program, may suffer few problems. So you just go on through the attendance file, and if you have any relevant queries, you can mail your concern to dkavita@ece.edu. So the mail ID is posted in the chat box. You can note down the mail ID, and the same will be communicated through the file itself. So today we will be posting a file in that up to Wednesday. Attendance will be there. If you feel any concerns about the attendance, please contact. And all of you are requested to complete all the feedbacks and assessment within Friday itself. That is, all the forms are open till now. So if you didn't do any of the assessment, you can do it even now itself. And you try to complete all the 5 assessments and feedbacks before tomorrow night. So you have a deadline of completing all the activities related to this FDP before Friday midnight, so that we can consolidate everything in the weekend so that it will make the certification generation process easier and faster. Thanks for your understanding. If you have any queries, you can ask. If you are clear with the instructions, you can leave the call. Thank you.
Madam,
Yes, sir.
yesterday only one PPT was displayed, madam.
Sir, actually, we have uploaded all the PPTs in the morning itself, sir. Now it is completely uploaded. You can now check it. Check the mode.
But the assignment was based on one thing, and I have completed it. Is it okay or another one assignment?
Is it okay, sir? Day 3 assessment is over. It is based on only one PPT. No issues about that. You can use other materials for your reference, and they are not included in the assessment.
Okay, madam. How much is the minimum assessment?
So actually, up to day 5, we will be going to conduct the test for overall 100 marks.
Okay, madam. Okay.
So for 100 marks, if you score greater than 60, you will be eligible to get the certificate. So after Friday, when all the participants have completed the activities, we will be releasing the grade to you so that you can check your assessment results.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Only day 2 assessment was very tough, and it took more time for me to understand.
Okay.
Because you asked the future thing and all. They have displayed something, but it was future. I went and browsed and got the details. But it was very useful, madam. Thank you.
Okay, fine, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Today's assessment will be posted soon, and you can able to find the assessment in about 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, everything, your assessment and feedback will be ready.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Hope as there is no questions, let me end up this particular session. Okay, thank you all for your active participation. Let me end the call.
Hello, madam.
Yes, sir.
Madam, I am Dr. Ravichandran speaking.
Yes, sir.
Madam, it is compulsory to get 60% for getting the certificate.
As per ACT norms, you need to score greater than 60, sir.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Okay, right.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you.